July 13th, 1985. 1.5 billion people, 2 continents, and a logistical miracle that shouldn't have worked. Today, the global jukebox isn't just a memory. It's a live theatrical powerhouse. Welcome to Center Stage. Today we're stepping back into the hit factory to discuss Just for One Day. From its record-breaking premiere at the Old Vic to the massive UK tour hitting Curve Leicester in 2027, was it just a day of pop music? Or was it the day the world actually changed? Just for One Day is a jukebox musical with a book by British author and scriptwriter John O'Farrell. Told through a modern-day perspective, Just for One Day retells the events leading up to Live Aid, the 1985 benefit concert organized by Bob Geldof and Midge Uri to raise awareness and funds for the famine in Ethiopia. Bringing a global phenomenon like Live Aid to the stage required a delicate balance of history, politics, and pop culture. The creative team, led by director Luke Shepard, who is known for & Juliet, and writer John O'Farrell, known for Mrs. Doubtfire, aimed to capture the energy of the day without falling into the trap of a standard tribute show. A major creative decision was not to have the actors impersonate music icons like Freddie Mercury, David Bowie, or Elton John with prosthetic mustaches or wigs. Instead, a diverse 26-person cast reinterprets the songs in a modern style, allowing the music to drive the narrative rather than serving as a mimicry. To make the 1985 event relevant to modern audiences, the creators introduced Gemma, a Gen Z character who researches Live Aid for a school project. Now, this basically allowed the show to question the legacy of the event, asking tough questions about where the money went and the ethics of white savior narratives, rather than just celebrating it. Luke Shepard wanted to highlight the unsung heroes as well, the technicians, record shop employees, and roadies who worked for free to pull off a logistical miracle in just 10 weeks. Designer Sutra Gilmore opted for a minimalist set to keep the focus on the human story and the music. So the stage uses a versatile playing area with a 3-sided LED screen that provides a sense of scale, showing the massive Wembley crowds, but avoiding the need of complex physical scenery. Now, initially, Bob Geldof was unimpressed with the early script, feeling it focused too much on him as a hero. So the team had to rewrite the script multiple times to pivot the focus onto the underlying famine in Ethiopia and the collective effort of the public. Now, one of the hardest tasks was balancing the pop party atmosphere of Wembley with the sobering reality of the Ethiopian famine. The team used a storytelling technique that alternates between the high-energy preparation in London and the heartbreaking scenes of Amara, a fictionalized composite of real-life aid workers in Ethiopia. Ironically, the villain of the show, well, they aren't a person, but the technical limitations of 1985, such as satellite link-up failures, tech gremlins, and the sheer impossibility of syncing a concert across 2 continents simultaneously. From a sound perspective, sound designer Gareth Owen faced a significant challenge as well, putting a live drummer with a real kit upstage center. The surrounding video walls acted like a megaphone, bouncing sound back toward the stage. So the team solved this by putting the entire cast and the band onto ultimate ears-in-ear monitors to manage the sonic chaos. Now, an important factor here was that the creative team was prompted to bring the Live Aid to the stage by a desire to explore the extraordinary storytelling potential of a moment when music united 1.5 billion people for a common cause. Now, rather than a standard tribute show, the musical Just for One Day was conceived to capture the human stories behind the event, including the passion of those involved and the monumental challenges they overcame. The creators themselves were inspired by the fact that their dads have never stopped talking about this day, prompting them to pitch the idea to Bob Geldof as a way to translate that magic for theater. The show acknowledges that while Live Aid was a historic success, the underlying problems of poverty and famine still exist nearly 40 years later, encouraging new generations to keep asking questions and keep fighting for change. In a message of ongoing support for the cause, the production maintains a direct link, with 10% of every ticket sale donated to the Band-Aid Charitable Trust. Now, the production had its world premiere in January of 2024 at the Old Vic Theatre in London, not only becoming a massive critical and commercial success, but becoming the fastest selling musical in the Old Vic's history. Now, unlike a typical tribute show, the musical tells the behind-the-scenes story of how Bob Geldof and Midge Ure organized the Global Jukebox in just 10 weeks. The show features the iconic songs performed at the original concerts, including hits from Queen, David Bowie, Elton John, U2, The Police, and The Who. Now, because the January premiere was so successful, the show has since expanded to the West End Shaftesbury Theatre for a longer run starting in May of 2025. Now, fun fact, in July of 2025, a special gala performance was held to mark exactly 40 years since the original Live Aid concert. Now, the production received largely positive, though occasionally polarized reviews. Critics were almost universally blown away by the musical arrangements and vocal performances, but some remained skeptical of the script's attempt to bridge the generational gap between the 1980s and today. Reviewers loved the decision to treat the show like a high-octane concert rather than a traditional musical. The Telegraph called it a sublime night out and a rip-roaring retread of the iconic event. The biggest point of contention was the character of Gemma, also known as Gen Z. While some found her investigation a clever way to modernize the story, others, like the critic for the Time Out, felt it was a weirdly obsessed attempt to gain Gen Z approval. Now, several reviewers, including The Guardian, noted that while the show mentions white savior narratives and the ethics of aid, it doesn't quite explore them deep enough. It was described as a show knee-deep in celebratory nostalgia that raises the subject before seeming to say, nah, all good. Well, the consensus here, if you go for the nostalgia and the wall of sound vocals, it's a 5-star experience. If you're going to look for deeply nuanced political drama, you might find the script a bit thin. However, the commercial success was undeniable, with the show becoming the fastest selling musical in the Old Vic's history. Now, following the West End run, the musical will begin a UK and Ireland tour at the Curve Theatre in Leicester in March of 2027. Now, this production is particularly significant as it marks the beginning of the show's national journey after record-breaking runs at the Old Vic and in the West End. Now, tickets did go on sale to the general public in December of last year, and due to the show's history of selling out quickly, it is recommended to book early. Remember, guys, 10% of every ticket sale goes directly to the Band-Aid Charitable Trust, supporting global famine relief and other charitable initiatives. Now, unlike a standard tribute show, this is a gig theater, meaning that it features an electrifying ensemble performing bold, contemporary reinterpretations of its original hits. Because the story is told through the eyes of a Gen Z student who challenges the legacy of the original 1985 event, makes it resonant for both those who lived through it and younger audiences who may be familiar with the music and the acts, but not the story behind this legendary event. Now, if you would like to purchase a ticket to this phenomenal musical, or to see more info on the Band-Aid Charitable Trust, I will have links to both in the description below. Now guys, it's easy to look back at 1985 through neon-colored glasses, but just for one day reminds us that behind the glitter was a desperate human urgency. Whether you're a Gen Z listener like Gemma was in the show, or you remember exactly where you were when Queen took the stage at Wembley, this story belongs to all of us. Don't forget, again, that 10% of your ticket goes back to the Band-Aid Charitable Trust. The mission clearly hasn't ended. In the musical, when the ensemble gathers for Let It Be, it's more than just a cover of a classic Beatles song. It's a bridge, guys. It bridges the gap between the chaos of the 1985 organizers and the questions of the generation watching them today. It reminds us that while we can't fix every global crisis in 24 hours, and gee, I wish we could, there is a transformative power in simply showing up and speaking a whisper of wisdom. Bob Geldof once said that the Live Aid was about the death of kindness, but this show and this song proves that kindness is very much alive, as long as we keep singing together. Remember that even in the darkest hour, there is still a light that shines on you. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you at the theater.